Hi everyone, my name is Arisi. I am from Nigeria. I am 16 going to 17. I am a huge fan of everything Korean, from K-dramas to K-pop to K-food and K-beauty. This is Hallyu Con 2021.
Hola! Hi, we are Faria sisters from Chile. I'm Jose.
I'm Salo.
And I'm Femi. And we are here to tell you about a little bit of our relationship with K-dramas and films.
Hi, I'm Keisha. I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Hi, my name is Emma. I'm 32 years old and I've been into K-pop since late 2007, so about 14 years.
Hey guys, my name is Mason Era and I'm going to be answering some K-drama questions, so let's go.
Hello, my name is Yasmina and I'm going to be talking about Korean dramas and films.
Hello, my name is Carla Saucedo. I'm from Cancun, Mexico. I'm part of BTS Army. Both of them, the K-drama and BTS, they changed my life. My constantly fight against my cancer disease since 2014. And I was so depressed and they give me another reason to live.
Cool. My name's Tina. I'm originally from Hong Kong, but I've lived here for many years now.
Hi, I'm Satita. I'm from Thailand. I'm 25 years old.
But hi, I'm Maria. I'm from Spain. I'm from Madrid, but I live in London.
It was back in 2011 and my very first K-drama is actually City Hunter, which for me, I never really kind of was drawn to dramas in general of that genre, kind of like action and everything. But I saw some music videos that were made on YouTube from that and I thought, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Turns out it was Lee Min-ho. So I watched it and I was absolutely hooked.
Well, I first watched K-dramas 2013, which is 8 years ago. I was just 8 going to 9. What really influenced me to it was a new thing. I haven't watched it before, so my family were like, let's try it out and see how it's going to be. We tried it out and it was amazing. My first K-drama was Boys Over Flowers. It was so amazing. I was instantly in love, like I was captivated. I fell in love with Opak, Lee Min-ho, and Kim Bob.
I started watching K-dramas at a young age, from like 12.
I started watching K-drama for a recommendation of a friend. And as I said, it was for distract me. And from that moment, my life began to change. One of my favorite dramas is It's Okay to Be Okay, because it leaves a lot of learning about the autism, what the autistic family suffers, and the damage that we do to our children. And all this in a funny and an entertaining way.
I started watching Korean dramas with my family when I was really young. The first one I remember is Daechanggu, and that's almost nearly 20 years ago, I think. So back then I didn't really understand what Korean dramas were all about. I didn't understand the language, of course, but then with Daechanggu, it was really the food that got me interested. But then slowly over the years, I caught up with the plot, and now I'm more interested in, well, K-dramas with like a mythical or horror element.
So the first drama or film I watched, the first one was in 2008 and it was for My Sassy Girl. It's actually a Korean film, My Sassy Girl. And what influenced me to watch it was TVXQ's Yuno, the leader. It was talking about Jung Ji-hyun's character. He was saying that was his ideal type, and she's a very passionate, empowering kind of woman. So I was intrigued by that already, by him mentioning those things. You don't see many films like that, so that intrigued me to watch the film. And I have to say I was extremely impressed, and it had left me with an empowering feeling because of the film. So yeah.
So I traveled to Korea in 2019 to visit a family friend, and after when I came back in 2020, of course the pandemic happened, and so I started kind of watching K-dramas and K-films after that, because following my trip to the country I got really interested in the culture. But yeah, it was really mostly in 2020 that I started watching them.
Okay, so for me, a friend of mine had been telling me to watch K-dramas for so long, and I was like, nah, it's okay, I don't want to. I finally caved in, and that was 2019, and I haven't stopped since.
I started watching Korean dramas probably this year in January, and it's because I really missed Korea.
2015, I think, seriously. Seriously got into it in 2015. It was because of a friend of mine. We went to, she's Korean and she took me to Korea. So we went around for about 2 weeks, visited her hometown, and then just really fell in love with the culture and everything. And I was like, I need more of this. Where am I going to get more of this? And she recommended, oh, why don't you watch Korean dramas? And so I did. And that's been the beginning of the obsession with K-dramas.
Back in 2012, I was watching TV on my place when a TV show caught my eyes. It was the famous K-drama Boys Over Flowers. I immediately phoned my sisters and told them to watch it. And that is when it all started. We got into the K-drama world very randomly, actually, just by accident. We didn't know anything about Asian culture before that, but we fell in love. Everything left us a huge impact. The actors, their characters, the set, their interpretation, the sound, everything. But above all, I think we fell in love with the storyline. Since then, we couldn't stop watching them until now.
Mr. Queen. Why? Because Mr. Queen, oh my god. Mr. Queen is one movie that no matter how many times I watch it, it's still amazing me. Like, it feels so new to me. That movie is so amazing. Like, every episode is fire. Oh my god, I love it so much. It's excessively funny. You will laugh. Like,
I'll never forget it because it's still personally my favorite. Is Personal Taste with Lee Ho. Oh my gosh. If you guys don't know Personal Taste when it first came out, that kiss, oh my god. You know what I'm talking about? When he said game over, he's like, you know what? I'm not playing this game anymore. Girl, I want you. I'm like, oh my god. 12-year-old me was screaming at that moment. I loved it. It's one of the best K kissing scenes ever.
And literally there are so many lessons that you can learn in each one of them, but the one that comes to mind right now is my 100-Day Prince. So I think a lesson that you can learn from that, or that I learned from that, is to be courageous and speak truth. Yeah, speak truth and be courageous. Yeah, that's it.
The film that has literally the hugest impact on me was Train to Busan, because I was in Busan for 2 months in 2019. So when that movie came out, I went to Busan. I learned about Busan through that movie, so I really wanted to visit there. And then I did take the train down from Seoul to Busan. So the whole train ride, I was thinking back to the scenes of the movie, and it was a thrilling but kind of scary ride, but it was really cool.
I'm going with the first one that I watched, which is My Sassy Girl, because it was the first one that I watched, so that left the biggest impression on me, as I hadn't never watched any Korean films or dramas before. And it was kind of one of those films where you don't see an empowering female character very often, especially during the time that I watched it. So for me, I felt that was something that was like, wow, she's an impressionable character, and it left it kind of seared into my mind because of the way she kind of portrayed her character very well.
So I would say the drama that's left the biggest impression on me is Because This Is My First Life. So it's a drama about a group of friends, and they're all in like their late 20s, early 30s, And yeah, and it's just about them navigating their life at that age and kind of having a bit of mini existential crises about, you know, their job, their careers, their family, their love life, and just how they navigate those issues. And I think because I'm around the same age, a lot of the stuff that they were bringing up just really resonated with me. And then a lot of the things that they talk about the drama about societal problems or issues, or how like society or your family's views really affect how you view yourself and how you view your life. And yeah, it's just very slice of life sort of drama that I think really resonated with me because of the issues that they face and how they overcome them.
Itaewon Class, I really like the storyline, and it really made me think about my career and what I should do for it. And then for films, I really like Parasite. Parasite is just mind-blowing. It's not what you expect, and the humor is amazing.
Crash Landing on You, just because it's one of those K-dramas that made me realize that love really does conquer all.
Which was Let's Eat. It's just so, it makes you so hungry just watching it. There's so much like good food, and people talk about food with such passion, and I'm a huge foodie, so I really sort of like resonated with that. I have to say off the top of my head though, the most sort of, I guess, groundbreaking drama I've ever watched was W Two Worlds. It was just, it blew my mind. It was just so, the whole concept was just so out there, and it was just, yeah, it just made me sort of question, you know, the very existence of life, to put it like that. It was just so different from anything I've ever seen before. It was so creative, and yeah, the concept was just really out there. So yeah, that definitely was like the turning point. That's when I knew I was like properly obsessed. That was the drama that made me realize that.
The K-drama that has left us the biggest impression was Mr. Sunshine. It's an historical drama, and we already have a special attachment with this type of series, but when we watched Mr. Sunshine, it became our top one, like, immediately. For us, it has everything: action, romance, a bit of comedy, patriotism, sacrifice, braveness, and so much more. This drama is so touching, and we remember crying a lot, like a lot. But you know what's best? We learned so much about the rough part of the Korean history, and also the situation of other countries at that time, like Japan and the US.
Secretary Kim, I think that's really cute. I love it. I'm like, ah! Is really good if you want a little cute little romance. Drama, I would say Itaewon Class is really good. Also, Vagabond is really good if you're looking for some action and a lot of plot twists. I do recommend to all of my friends and my coworkers to watch Vagabond, because with all the plot twists, like if you're getting a good mystery, a good action, like I remember crying at the first episode, but then after episode of Vagabond, girl, let me tell you, you don't even know, like you don't even know. Y'all need to go watch Vagabond, because like it is so good. When I tell you it is good, it is good. Okay, go watch Vagabond if you guys haven't watched Vagabond already. Like,
for the first time, I recommend Goblin, because it's beautiful, entertaining, and loving. And no matter how hard you try to not fall in love with the K-drama, you will do it. I resisted for a year, and I watched it now, Goblin, for 3 times.
It's the Tale of the Nine Tail, pardon my pronunciation. Because I love that a lot, because I love the horror theme, and when it concerns like classic folklore, I find it really interesting. So I think my friends also kind of like that kind of theme as well. So Tale of the Nine Tail will be the one that I recommend. It's got great graphic, the storyline is amazing, and you get a really nice glimpse of like ancient, traditional Korean costumes, those kind of villages, and you got a lot of beautiful scenes about modern day Korea as well. So it's like the best of both worlds, or the best of three worlds, and you get reality, the past, the present, and a mythical story.
For film, I would recommend Train to Busan. I think that's the first film I watched in 2019, a Korean film, and I really liked it, and I think it's a really interesting take on the zombie genre, and it's really good. I mean, I cried. I think it's the only zombie film I've ever cried. So that would be just my blanket recommendation for everyone. But then in terms of K-dramas, it would depend on the person, but I often recommend Crash Landing on You, just because I think it's one of the first K-dramas I watched, and I think it really, you get hooked early on into the story, or at least I did. So I think just the elements that they have in the story with North Korea, South Korea is really interesting, and the acting is really well done, and all the supporting cast is really good and really funny. So yeah, I like that. It's a good mix of kind of like romance, action, comedy. So yeah, those would be my recommendations.
There's so many. I don't know, Crash Landing on You is pretty up there. It's quality, you know, it's quality. So I'd probably say Crash Landing on You. And the reason why is because it's such good quality, such great cinematography. And so the way that I'd convince my friend is like, come over to my house, you know, let's just catch up. And then just slowly, you know, put one episode on and so that they can get a taster. And then I'm telling you, from there, it's gonna be history.
Oh, there's so many. But I think Memories of Alhambra, because it's a really interesting concept. It's not too romantic, it's got adventure, and like I always like the fashion, so that's really interesting as well.
Personally, my favorite is Cunning Single Lady, and the reason that being is I just think that the plot is so well thought out. It's not too complicated. It's like a workplace drama about a woman whose ex-husband ends up being super successful, and she has like this powerful, well, I guess cunning single lady, kind of goes out into his workplace like seeking revenge.
I think if you're someone who just wants something sort of light-hearted to get into, and something that's quite low sort of like low commitment, one of my favorite short dramas is called Splash Splash Love.
We will recommend the K-drama Vincenzo. From our view, it has everything. You go from laughing to jumping out of fear. It keeps you expectant all the time. Despite having a lot of characters, the history is so easy to follow. On the other hand, to a more grown-up audience, we will recommend the film 20. It was the most funny movie we have seen. It approaches the issues of this particular age or phase of life. It shows the change from teen to adulthood in a very raw and funny way.
The fact that so many of us in the Western world are watching K-dramas answers your question. I think it's great. I can understand a little bit of Korean. 안녕하세요. 저는 메이세입니다. 만나서 반가워요. So yeah, like we learn as we watch, which is great. I love it. I think you guys are doing great with the subtitles.
I remember when the film Parasite became big, and then there was a whole debate about those that 1-inch barrier, the subtitle barrier. So I don't think it should be a barrier to the role of art and literature. It's like, yeah, maybe you need to have a bit more effort, put a bit more effort to read the subtitles when you're watching Korean films or drama series, but you know, once you get past that, there's so much more. You just open your eyes to a whole new world out there. And if you're native English speakers, then your reading would be no problem, so definitely wouldn't be an issue.
I think for subtitles they're good in that when they're dubbed, I feel like they lose a lot of their feeling, and I feel like it doesn't quite portray what the characters may be feeling or what they're trying to do. With subtitles, I feel like it sticks to the mother tongue of the language, and being able to understand what they're trying to say as well. So I feel like that conveys it with subtitles in that sense.
So for me, when I watch K-dramas or Korean films, I don't really notice the subtitles. I think it's, you know, if the storyline is good, if the characters are good, if the acting is good, if kind of the set and everything is good, so subtitles don't really bother me. I think what draws me to it is just like the plot and how the acting is, and just like the setting, and you know how they show Korea, or if they're abroad in different countries, just how they film is just, yeah. So reading subtitles, I don't even notice now.
In my personal experience, it doesn't bother me that much. I just sometimes wonder how accurate the actual translation is. That's what worries me, because I've heard some dramas are not, there's some parts that are not translated exactly, so you can miss a bit of the humor or a bit of the dramatic.
I don't think people really mind watching subtitles, if I'm honest. You know, Korean dramas aren't the only foreign types of media out there. More and more, actually, we're seeing in Western society dramas from the rest of Europe, dramas from China, dramas from Japan, and different animes. And I think, for example, Netflix is one of the biggest examples of media with totally different languages and a huge variety of languages. So personally, I think that the Western audiences are less and less worried about whether they're watching something with subtitles or not, which I think is great for all different types of cultures, because it just means that different cultures can be spread and experienced throughout the world.
I remember I think it was actually Bong Joon-ho who said it, you know, the director of Parasite, when he got his Academy Award, he said, look, if you overcome the subtitles, it opens up like a whole new world. And that's so true. I feel like if you can, you know, if you can just overcome just reading and not particularly understanding the language as people speak it, but just sort of getting the gist of it. I mean, there's so much you can get just from people's gestures and, you know, the context, and, you know, visually there's so much of the story you can understand like through that. There is just so much, it's so rich, you know, K-drama and Korean movies is such a rich world of, you know, history and, how should I say, just so much, such a rich culture and so much history, and just such an interesting, you know, place to be. So yeah, I think, I mean, you know, lots of people ended up watching K-dramas during lockdown. They've discovered K-drama for the first time, and I really think it's, you know, it's opening up. People, I think, are overcoming those subtitles. So yeah, it's a good thing.
We have always preferred dramas and movies in their original language, because feeling the actors' emotions through their voices and hearing their accent give the scene the right value, you know? That's why subtitles is more attractive for us. Even though it might be a distraction sometimes, we still prefer it instead of dubbing.
K-dramas, they are the bomb. I love K-dramas so much.
Korean dramas are on a whole different level, let me tell you. Like, as it says in the title, OST, they go ham with the OSTs. Like, that's what got me in K-dramas in the first place. They go ham with the OSTs. Like, when like a tragic death happens or betrayal happens, those OSTs though, these OSTs are killer. The settings are amazing, and the story, I feel how K-dramas, like, it definitely has its own lane compared to the drama shows here in the West. I think Korean dramas are a lot better than in the West, to be honest. Like, you don't really have a good drama or like soap opera up here in the West, personally, for me, to my standards. It may be different for anyone else in their country, but in Canada, no. I feel how K-dramas, like, it definitely has its own lane compared to the drama shows here in the West. I think Korean dramas are a lot better than in the West, to be honest. Like, you don't really have a good drama or like soap opera up here in the West, personally, for me, to my standards. It may be different for anyone else in their country, but in Canada, no.
So I'll just start with the Chinese dramas first. The Chinese dramas are really long. They're like minimum 50 episodes. Some go into like hundreds of episodes, but when it goes to like Korean drama, they're like 12, 14, 16. I don't think they're usually over 20 episodes, so the storyline for Korean drama is definitely a bit like more intense, more fast-paced. There's good character development as well, even though you get a few fewer number of episodes, so that's like the main difference that I identify compared to Chinese dramas. And compared to Thai dramas, I mean, the topic, the content is definitely different. So the one that I watched recently, it's Girl from Nowhere, or Dig Mai. So that's like a psychological plus horror thriller series as well. And it still feels different because I guess for that one, it's like every episode it has an entire storyline. But for Korean dramas, you need to watch like the entire series in order to have like the full storyline, which is also cool. It's just interesting ways, and well, I enjoy all of them.
I think for me what sets kind of Korean dramas and Korean films apart from, maybe TV shows in Spain or in the UK or the US is I think the production value. Like every episode feels like a mini movie. There's so much attention to detail, all the production is really high. I would also say like the acting is really good, like the main characters but also the secondary characters are always really, really strong acting. Just the fashion as well. I feel like all the, like how the characters are dressed and the secondary characters is just, really, really well done. I like that they're usually, one season or 2 seasons, but you really feel like you're on a journey with the characters from beginning to end. I think sometimes when you watch TV shows like that are made in Europe or in the US, it doesn't really feel like a journey. It feels like you finish the show and those characters could live on. Well, I think with Korean dramas, you're on the journey with the characters and it kind of wraps up nicely at the end, or even if not nicely, it wraps up so that you have like an ending, which I think is really, really good. And then of course the soundtracks, it's good. Like when you start watching a drama, you don't really not that attached to the songs, but then by the end you get really attached when they start playing the songs in different parts of the show, which is always really fun, I would say.
I think it's definitely like in Korean dramas, like it's very like American Western dramas is very sexualized, but Korean dramas are not. It's more about the storyline and the evolution of that, so that's a huge, massive difference. Then the concepts for each drama is really like outside the box. It's like quite interesting how creative the storylines can be. And then you have a lot of actors that are really good at their job, but they also are K-pop artists as well, so it's really interesting to see how disciplined many of these characters and actors are.
So you got American, you got British, you got South African, but the biggest difference between all of those and Korean dramas is the cleanliness in the movies, like the purity. I just love it. The fact that when they hold hands for the first time, it's such a big deal. I love that so much, and I love the respect that they give to the elders. It's not so common anymore. You have to like, even giving up a seat for an elderly person, a hajushi and a hajima, might seem like something strange here, but in Korea it's so beautiful and so respectful. So that's what I love, the respect for the elders and the cleanliness and purity of the dramas. That's it.
The soundtracks are huge for K-drama, whereas soundtracks, I think, for dramas that we might watch in England are like not the same at all. You don't really like go out and buy a soundtrack for some of the TV shows that we watch in the UK, for example. I think as well the storylines are totally different. We don't have a lot of dramas that are an hour and a half long, for example. Like we just finished watching Vincenzo, for example, and that's like watching a movie for us per episode, which is, I think, one of the biggest differences. I think that there is a lot more character development and emphasis on couples as well, and this kind of almost Shakespearean recipe where you'll have the two lovers, the side story, the comic relief character, the tragedy, which is really interesting, because I think that in the UK you would expect for us to be following perhaps a little bit more of a traditional Shakespearean drama style, but actually I do think that K-dramas very much follow that recipe that playwrights such as Shakespeare kind of adapted back in the day. But yeah, I think that's the main difference. But yeah, Watch Cunning Single Lady. It's so underrated and one of the best dramas.
To be honest, I don't watch very much beside K-dramas anymore. I don't watch a lot of British TV either anymore. But I think from from the things I have watched and sort of things I know that are on, I feel like Korean dramas, they seem to tackle a lot of really sort of big concepts, really abstract concepts, and by that I mean things like, you know, the idea of like destiny and fate and those sorts of things. I feel like that's a really sort of it's really prominent in lots of K-dramas, whereas in Western, a lot of Western sort of series, there's not much of that. It's usually things like, you know, lots of actual drama or action or like police procedurals or like historical things like Downton Abbey. There isn't very much of that sort of, these sort of overarching like concepts like fate, like, you know, what is the meaning of life and things like that, which I feel like Korean dramas do really, really well. Another big difference is I feel like Korean dramas, they're very sort of because they're quite short, because they don't have like series unlike lots of sort of Western, you know, TV. Yeah, it's just a nice little package, you know, it's a full package, it has everything, you know, there's a beginning of the story, there's an end of the story, and it's very satisfying, I think, watching that. Whereas sometimes with a lot of sort of Western TV shows, you just go like, and then you haven't finished telling me the story yet, and you want more, but at the same time you're just unsatisfied. So I feel like, yeah, Korean dramas, like the full meal, gives you everything. You feel really good after watching it.
For us, everything is different, starting from the originality of each story and also the length of K-dramas. It's perfect. You don't need to take or add any episodes. As for the content, their visuals are impressive, the locations are beautiful, and they set the mood perfectly for each scene. That also happens with the OST. It matches with every moment, making it even more special. We are in love with soundtracks. Of course, we have a playlist of K-dramas. The biggest difference that we see is the way love and affection is shown. You can see that it's very subtle and smooth in general, and that's not the type of affection we are used to see or even live as Latin American people. So yeah.
I love Korea so much, and I pray that you guys are gonna love Korea too.
Unless you're a nocturnal animal, starting out early in the day would make sure perhaps you finish the entire series by nighttime.
Go for it. You have nothing to lose. There's so many options on Netflix now.
We hope you keep enjoying this Hallyu Con, and hopefully you can love K-dramas and films as much as we do. Love from Chile! Fighting!